Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we're joined once again by Mark Gonzales over at First National Bullion. And debt is going through the roof right now. I know it's nice to have all these nice feelings of everything's going to be expunged, but what we're dealing with right now is actually historic. So the US collected a record $22 billion in tariffs in May, which was just 3% of total government spending because the spending is still going through the roof. Even though we have this whole DOGE thing, a lot of what went on with DOGE is being codified. People are giving their jobs back. A lot of the spending is going back into it. Never mind the $1 trillion on defense that Trump spent alone, the largest defense budget in history, just to help defend Israel and go after Iran. And then we have this U.S. asset exodus accelerates as dollar declines amid historic debt crisis and federal recklessness. Federal recklessness, to say the least. And I'm not going to blame any particular president because at the end of the day, this has been going on for a long time. We're just reaching that breaking point. Trump bill sets to add trillions to U.S. debt pile. He's basically just said, okay, give at it. Because at this point, what does another trillion really matter, right, folks? We're getting to the point where we're about half of the total world GDP in debt. So it's absurd. I want to get into this with Mark today because there are solutions to this, and we're going to dig into what this means, how this is all piling up, what it means for you and your bank as they go and aim for Basel III to cash out your bank accounts with bail-ins. But first, I urge you to check out that link in the description, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. There you can avoid the CBDC system, avoid the digital system to come, avoid the debt-based insanity and tyranny to come by going and buying physical gold, silver, platinum, or palladium. You could hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA outside of the traditional IRA system, and there you could schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark Gonzales and a complimentary investors package. So I urge you to go and do that. Sign up and check out that form. In the comments of the forum, you can tell them that you found them at World Alternative Media or WAM, W-A-M. Protect yourself today, my friends. This is serious stuff happening right now. It's not about fear mongering. Mark, we have what we saw with the tariffs. I mean, it's wishful thinking that, oh, the whole rest of the world is going to get rid of tariffs. If they did, that would be amazing. Obviously, then I would call it a success. However, that's not what's happening. We're seeing manufacturers raising prices. We're seeing the consumer have to spend more. We're seeing the consumer make less. And then we're seeing inflation skyrocket on top of this debt, which is just never ending. We haven't seen any evidence that we're going to see a massive decrease in the debt. They're selling citizenships for what, $5 million. But I don't think we're going to get enough people doing that in order to expunge this. And of course, now we're seeing the country potentially at war with Iran, which we'll talk about in another video. But Mark, can you break down what this means, what we're seeing right now with the national debt, the debt crisis, how it affects the average American?
Well, I don't know exactly the number for every man, woman, and child in this country that owe, but it's quite astounding. And let me remind the viewers that debt is what creates the currency. So you get rid of the debt, you reduce the debt, you reduce the currency of abundance. And since currency is created through debt without interest created itself, you always owe more than you have the ability to pay. So any reduction is going to put us into a spiral or massive recession. I personally think we are. But going on to what the tariffs are, the tariffs, as we mentioned before, it's not about China bad. It's not about we want to get back at people and have them pay their fair share. Keep in mind, when you have that reserve unit, that reserve currency, your function is to export inflation and manufacturing. That's the sole purpose of it. You want to run deficits. You go from a net lender to a net borrower. That is the entire purpose of it. So it's all, to me, in my opinion, and Josh, about just try to find a patsy, right, to stimulate or stir this market crash, which I've been calling for a margin event for a long, long time with the margin leverage into the markets. It's absolutely unreal. So I've been calling for that. It's to start that and have someone to blame. And at 3% dent in, first of all, the composition of the debt is growing at such a level where you borrow a penny today, I give you two tomorrow, and for the next day, if you do it, borrow the first day or the second day, you got 5 to 10 million by the end of the month. The composition, you get this hockey stick. 3% isn't going to make a dent. It's not going to do a damn thing, and it's just really a dog and pony show, in my opinion.
Yeah, and of course, by the way, I didn't ask you about this before the video, but it's off the hand here. But Bilderberg is commencing. We have all these financial backers, these guys that run these big banks, all meeting at Bilderberg. Every time we see that, we see some kind of initiative put forward. We have a bunch of technocrats meeting there. We have Peter Thiel meeting at Bilderberg right now. Of course, the Palantir just got a big handout for a massive database on the American people. And we're seeing a lot of this shift towards technocratic governance. Now, when we have a massive debt and we have people who can't afford anything, and then we see the massive decline of the dollar and trillions added all the time to the national debt, we are looking down the barrel of a massive crisis that people will say years ago you said the dollar was going to collapse. It has been. It takes time. It's over a period of time we see it go down, and the replacement for it is this technocratic system, is this CBDC system. Mark, for those of you watching on YouTube, by the way, who haven't gotten to know Mark, who does great work, by the way, we've been talking for quite some time on Rumble, BitChute, and those other places that you should go subscribe to, by the way, and not depend on YouTube. But nonetheless, we've talked about issues like Basel III coming in, and 63 central banks signed off on Basel III, which means they could just take your money out of your bank. So not only are you impoverished, not only is the system going down, but then on top of that, they take your money to pay off debts they can't pay, on top of the fact that they're bringing in the United Nations Pact for the Future, where they can shut you out of your bank account based on your views. This, I believe, is where they pull the rug out and then they bring in the CBDC. I think they just need the right crisis. Do you think, Mark, that this is the right crisis?
Yeah, I think all stars are aligning perfectly for them. Just look at what's going on in the world. The tariffs has started the margin event that I've been talking about. You got wars breaking out. You got China talking about building depositories throughout the world to have the yuan gold trade more enacted, and you see now more evidently the de-dollarizing of other countries. And it's being clearly stated with the Genius Act for our stablecoin. It's being stated clearly with the ECB talking about CBDC going into effect October latest, and then pledging $1.3 trillion to their digital ID program for surveillance mostly. And then you said it yourself.
The UK has done the same thing as well. I believe July, they're launching their digital ID wallet. And of course, they're pushing for CBDC by December, though they haven't put an exact timeline. They're saying around December. So we're seeing basically all stars come into alignment worldwide simultaneously. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
I don't think it's a coincidence either. So you mentioned, okay, people like me, I've been talking about this for a long time. Everybody thinks that you're Chicken Little or the boy who cried wolf. Well, guess what? The wolf eventually came and ate the town. So you got to see it for what it is, of these incremental steps to the final completion. But now you're at a point where the framework for the digital surveillance system is in fact built out. And now you got Palantir that's coming in with the US to spy on. It's not by coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I don't think there's a right or left or east or west. I think the world has rulers and everything else is just kind of a show. So people need to protect themselves because this is the real deal and it's coming upon us. And when it does come upon you, you're not going to be able to escape it unless you have something that's going to carry you through the other side of it, which that's where gold and silver come in.
Well, let's get into that, Mark, because I do have a few examples up here on the screen that I could bring up for everyone here. So there's a lot of articles like this. DailyReckoning.com says, is gold peaking or just warming up? Simultaneously, we have our friend over at World Alternative Media. We've done many interviews with him in the past. Representative Thomas Massey, one of the only people in government that I'll ever say is our friend, because I'm not a friend with anyone really in government. Is him and Ron Paul are the only people I've actually really appreciated over the years and have done interviews with. But Massey is introducing a gold reserve audit bill amid Fort Knox transparency push. The idea is, of course, to find out, is there gold in Fort Knox? And I have a feeling that this won't get too far as this bill goes because, everyone is paid off and controlled in Congress and in the Senate. But nonetheless, there is this push because, look, there's never been, in my opinion, from what I've seen, so much demand for gold right now. There's shortages across the board that we keep seeing coming in and on and off. There is, of course, record highs we're constantly seeing across the board. So, Mark, is gold peaking or just warming up?
It's at the very beginning of warming up, honestly, because there's historic math on where gold needs to go. So gold is the only true money out there. Everything's just an accounting measure of it. So the gold price adjusts either organically or by decree or by both to offset the debt. It's a balance sheet. It's the asset that has to rise to clean up the balance sheet of default. And the whole reason that they're talking about auditing the gold reserves, in my opinion, it's not because they want to make sure the gold's there, whether the gold's there or not. I personally think it is. But I think it's leased up to the hilt because the evidence shows that the majority of the gold that is there is what they've refined bars from the melted down coins that were reclaimed, not confiscated from 33. So they miss the ounce weight or the purity by some degree. So it's still bullion, but it's not deliverable. It's not debt settling. So you chalk this up to audit the Federal Reserve. Well, that goes along with DOGE. And we said this before. Your YouTube subscribers haven't been part of this, but I've said this before. So DOGE, in my opinion, it was an accounting of the books. It wasn't to find out where the fraud is. It wasn't trying to find who the overspending is, because obviously they're not codifying it. It's not being enacted. So when you're about ready to bankrupt a business, and Washington, D.C. is a corporate entity, so is every other state, so is every other country, so the world's a business. When you're going to bankrupt a dollar business, you need to have an accounting of where the bones are buried, at least to some degree. So that is what I think that's about, because if it really was to clean up the mess, then why the hell aren't we doing anything about it? And if Trump was really going to fight the deep state, then why is he teaming up with Palantir? So it's all coming together, and now you're being told digital currency is, on the table, and really there's no other way to go that, because that's the agenda that they want, and they've always gotten what they want. So take heed to that, because the gold is just warming up. It is going to rise to a level that is so astronomical to cover M1, M2, M3, which isn't reported anymore for over 20 years, Treasury debt, and unfunded liabilities. And it's going to happen at a debt-based margin rate of roughly 1 to 3% reserves, floating almost every trade out there. That's really what it is, at a time that Basel III says we can come in and bail in your money as the de facto resolution to a banking crisis. So we're there. It's just how exactly does this play out? And how fast does this margin event occur? So you had dot-com bubble, got fixed through a lot of stimulus. You had the housing bubble, got fixed through a lot of stimulus. They're not looking to bail this one out. They're looking to flip the scripts and adjust the accounting. Gold rises to counter that balance and that default, and then you lose. You go to bed like other countries. Mexico in 94, a peso bought X. The next day, 10 pesos, what it takes to buy the X. But since you have this parallel accounting measure of debt that actually makes the unit or the reserve currency across the world, this is how it's done with the exchange, then it only took the Mexican central bank 1 peso to satisfy 10 in debt. You get me?
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I have the debt clock up, and just so everyone knows, as we report, I mean, 36.97 trillion dollars. So it's absurd. But of course, so looking at something on here that Mark and I have looked into before, dollar to silver ratio now, dollar to silver ratio 1913, and then dollar to gold ratio now, dollar to gold ratio 2013, as well as a 5-year and the 10-year on both. I mean, how significant is this, and what does this mean to people, Mark, when it comes to where gold and silver should or could be going forward, to those who don't know?
Well, just look at the numbers. Okay, so I think the number for gold to dollar ratio is way, way, way undervalued, but it's going based upon hedonic measures of what the government puts out in the BLS and inflation and blah, 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 and the dollar debt. But really what you're going to want to look at is that dollar to silver ratio. I think silver is the best kept secret out there. Most, not really even a secret anymore, but I think it's the best opportunity on the planet. The problem with silver is compared to gold is it takes more space to soar. Yeah. But even when you're looking down the barrel of a decline or market crash that's going to make 2008 seem joyful, yeah, right? And you take gold at let's round it up to $3,500, and I'll be generous. And then you go to this. You're looking at what are you looking at? You're looking at about a 4x, yeah, almost a 4x. So just holding gold at a 4x increase when you're looking down the barrel of a leveraged market decline that is not necessarily going to be funded or stimulated, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind, the Great Depression had 1% interest rates. 1% interest rates. Everybody would love 1% interest rates right now, but what happened if they don't lend? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So they had 1% interest rates, but they did not lend. So you're gonna see this market collapse, and I think the tariffs were actually going to be the start of it. So you got a 3.5 to 4 banger on your gold, but your silver. going from 35 to over $1,000. I mean, I mean, that's all it is right there. And that's, these are skewed, minuscule numbers based on what could actually happen.
And by the way, all the while, and I just threw this up for a moment, World Bank makes ominous forecasts amid Trump's trade wars. But it's not a warning. It's not a forecast as much as it's them telling you what's going to happen, and they're going to be part of it because we're dealing with some very nefarious and, in my opinion, very evil people out there. Looking forward, Mark, obviously we have this in the description, and this isn't about advertising. We just want everyone to be safe in the face of all of this, because at the end of the day, what you need to do, if you don't understand money, then the people that make the money control you. If you understand your money, then you can control the money. Therefore, you can't be controlled by those that create the money. This is a very important step forward, especially walking into the CBDC based digital ID system, which is happening across the board. And now going into war with Iran, my goodness, again, this isn't fear mongering. It's just the obvious. It's a fact. This is happening right now, and we as individuals need to get prepared. So I urge you to check that link in the description, firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. It has to be that exact link. It's in the description of the video, and there you could schedule an appointment for a free consultation with Mark and a complimentary investors package. But most of all, you'll be able to buy gold, silver. You'll be able to hold it in your hands, put it in a vault, put it in an IRA. So you have many options there. And of course, in the comments, let them know that you found them at World Alternative Media, or WAM, WAM. But we have those options there amid the storm, amid what we are currently seeing with trillions being added to the US debt. People might just say it doesn't matter at this point, and to some degree they might be right. However, it just further signifies the end of an empire. And of course, Rome fell this way with Diocletian's edicts. We need to see it the same way today, except for the problem is that they aren't just going to shift into the same thing again, but with cash. They're going to do the same thing again, but with technocracy, and have full control over your ability to spend your own money and your ability to access your own money. The banks are bankrupt. It goes without saying, this is an opportunity for everyone to actually get prepared. Anything you want to add to this, Mark, as we get to the end of this report?
Well, just I encourage everybody, if you're looking to get information on this, if you've been looking into get into metals or expanding your portfolio, or even kind of adjusting them, I would suggest that you fill out the information, and we're going to get in contact with you and have a conversation, a real conversation. Yeah. I just advise everybody to do that, because the clock is ticking, and I don't have that crystal ball. I don't know when gold and silver become so difficult, if not impossible, to possess, because keep in mind that when you're dealing with a manufacturing premium, because that in fact is the spread to buy from dirt to refined products, smaller stuff carry a little bit more weight, and that's what I like. But when metal goes into hiding because it becomes in tight hands, and what comes out of the ground already has firm contracts on it, your premiums are going to rise, because now you have to pay a bribe on top of manufacturing to get it out. And I'm already starting to see shortages in many, many products out there. And I think you people can agree with me. I mean, that's what the intention is, until one day, boom.
Absolutely. And of course, you want to be getting prepared now, and not when everyone else is trying to get prepared at the same time. And then it's almost impossible to access what you need to prepare. In fact, sometimes not possible at all. Of course, if we see a complete collapse of the currency, as we see a shift into BRICS and a controlled manufactured move from the west to the east, as far as the power shift goes, then good luck. We need to get prepared now, not later. So here is an option for all of you to actually get on board with today. Again, that's firstnationalbullion.com/schedule-consult/. And it is in the description. We love to give you guys real solutions, and we appreciate those of you that take it seriously going forward. One thing I'll add at the end here is that I posted a video on saying Israel is about to attack Iran, and people immediately in the comments went fear-mongering, crazy, negative. I was just saying what the Iranian government said, what the Israeli government said, and what the U.S. government said. But people don't want to know the truth a lot of the times, and they don't want to know solutions as well. An hour after the video was posted, Iran it gets attacked by Israel, and now I went from fearmonger to I have a crystal ball. No, people, please, just I'm no smarter than any of you out there. I'm just reading what they say and saying what I believe will happen going forward, and I hope people take it seriously, and I hope people take measures to protect themselves and their family, because there's nothing more important than that going forward. So, as always, Mark, I appreciate your insights and you
Thank
going
you.
into this. And I hope everyone goes and checks that link. And until next time, my friends, hit that like button, share on social media, hit the notification bell. Of course, find us on Rumble and BitChute if you're on YouTube. Please, if you're on one of the alternatives, do not go over to YouTube thinking maybe it'll be easier, maybe it'll load faster. That's basically just destroying our ability to reach you in the future. Make sure to support those alternative platforms so we can always reach you. I appreciate everyone. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson and Mark Gonzales signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.